It's named for Menkaure, but this is not his original coffin. Everything about this suggests that it was put into the pyramid 2,000 years after Menkaure died. And this is very strange.
Buried beneath the ancient dunes of Egypt are more than pharaohs and fated legends. These are secrets soaked in fear, locked away for millennia.
The physical evidence of the screaming mummy indicates that he died a violent death.
We're diving past gold and glory into the eerie unknown, twisted mummies, impossible fossils, and relics that whisper of otherworldly origins. If you thought ancient Egypt was all pyramids and pharaohs, think again. These are the 17 most spine-chilling discoveries ever unearthed, and they might just change everything. Number 17. Screaming Mummy. In the royal tombs of Deir el-Bahri, archaeologists uncovered a mummy unlike any other. His mouth was wide open, as if frozen in a scream. His face looked twisted, his jaw stretched unnaturally, like he had died in terror. He became known only as Unknown Man E, and ever since his discovery, he's been one of ancient Egypt's most haunting mysteries. Unlike the carefully wrapped royal mummies buried with gold and ceremony, this man was wrapped in sheepskin, a material seen as impure in ancient Egypt. His burial was rushed, rough, and far from royal treatment. It was clear that whoever he was, he had been shamed and possibly cursed.
There's no evidence of any kind of diseases or trauma or any indication why he could have died.
Some believe he may have been poisoned, while others suggest something worse: buried alive, screaming in his final moments. But here's where it gets even more chilling. Many experts think he might actually be Prince Pentawar, the son of Pharaoh Ramses III. Ancient records describe a plot to assassinate Ramses III, and Pentawar was one of the key conspirators. After the plot failed, Pentawar may have been forced to take his own life. The shame of betrayal meant he was denied the rituals of a proper burial. Number 16. Book of the Dead. Imagine dying in ancient Egypt and needing a manual for what comes next. That's exactly what the Book of the Dead was. A guide full of spells, prayers, and warnings to help the dead survive the afterlife. These texts were often written on papyrus and buried with the body. Some of the best examples have been found in places like Saqqara. But the afterlife wasn't just a peaceful dream. According to these scrolls, the journey was full of terrifying challenges. The dead had to face demons, pass magical gates, and prove their worth in strange trials. The most famous test? The weighing of the heart. Your heart was placed on a scale, balanced against the feather of truth. If your heart was heavy with lies or sin, you failed, and the punishment was brutal. Your heart would be eaten by Ammit, a monster with the head of a crocodile, the front of a lion, and the back of a hippo. Total soul destruction. That's why Egyptians buried their dead with these texts. They believed words had power, even after death. The Book of the Dead wasn't just a bunch of spells, it was hope. Number 15. Byzantine exorcism texts. In the dusty ruins of Oxyrhynchus, Egypt, archaeologists uncovered some spine-chilling ancient papyrus scrolls from the 5th century CE filled with exorcism prayers. These texts, written during the Byzantine era, weren't just for reading. They were meant to fight demons. Back then, people believed that illness, bad luck, or strange behavior could be caused by evil spirits entering a person's body. These papyri contained detailed prayers and rituals to drive those spirits out. Some even called on powerful angels or saints to help cast the demons away. The words were direct, urgent, and filled with fear. Clear signs that people truly believed they were in a battle between good and evil. What makes these texts even more intense is how personal they feel. They often mentioned specific names, symptoms, and instructions, almost like a spiritual prescription. Some were meant to be folded and carried like amulets, while others might have been read aloud during terrifying ceremonies. These scrolls give us a peek into the minds of people who lived 1,500 years ago. People who saw the world as a place filled with unseen dangers. Number 14. Cursed Stela of Ankh-ef-en-Khonsu. Deep in the ruins of Thebes, archaeologists uncovered a strange black stone slab known as the Stela of Ankh-ef-en-Khonsu. Carved from dark basalt and dating back to Egypt's 26th dynasty, it belonged to a priest of Montu, the god of war. But what really caught attention was its chilling message. The front shows the priest standing calmly, but beside him is a disturbing figure with hollow eyes, possibly a demon. The inscription warns anyone who dares to touch or move the stela will suffer eternal torment. The back is even more mysterious, covered in strange symbols that may be linked to necromancy, magic involving the dead. Some believe the stela was meant to protect a tomb, scare off grave robbers, or even trap an angry spirit. But things got creepier when early excavators started getting sick and their tools mysteriously broke. When the artifact was moved to the Cairo Museum, accidents followed, feeding rumors of a curse. Number 13. Pit of Giant Hands. Beneath an ancient throne room in the lost city of Avaris, something chilling was found, a pit full of severed right hands. Not one or two, but 16, buried in 4 different pits. These weren't the remains of a battle. This was done on purpose. Some of the hands were huge and strangely well preserved, even after 3,600 years. They date back to the time of the Hyksos, a foreign group that once ruled part of Egypt. But why were these hands cut off and buried under a palace? Experts believe this may be the first real proof of an old practice once thought to be just a story. Warriors cutting off their enemies' right hands and giving them to the king, possibly in return for gold. This wasn't just a way to count how many people were defeated. It was a message. Losing your right hand, the hand used for fighting, was the worst kind of insult. And to bury them under the king's palace, that means this was more than just a war. It was a ritual. Number 12. Bloodstained Altar of Abidos. In 1900, archaeologists digging at Abidos made a chilling discovery, a simple limestone altar stained deep red. At first it looked like age-old damage, but later tests revealed something far more unsettling, traces of human and animal blood. This altar dates back to Egypt's first dynasty, over 5,000 years ago. Surrounding it were broken pots, scattered animal bones, and carvings in the stone nearby. The hieroglyphs spoke of offerings to Osiris, the god of the afterlife, including the chilling phrase, "life given to the god." Unlike the grand temples built for public worship, this altar was tucked away, crude in design, and hidden from view. That's led many to believe it was used for secretive, possibly violent rituals, not meant for the public eye. The atmosphere, according to early workers, felt heavy and dark. Some even claimed to hear whispers or feel watched while at the site. Local legends say the area is haunted by the spirits of those sacrificed there, their souls still trapped. While we may never know the full truth, this blood-stained altar reminds us that ancient Egyptian religion wasn't always golden tombs and sacred scrolls. Number 11. Board Game of Death. At first glance, it might look like just an old wooden board with little squares and a few game pieces. But in ancient Egypt, Senet wasn't just a fun way to pass the time. It may have been a game with deadly meaning. Senet is one of the oldest known board games in the world, dating back over 5,000 years. It was played by all kinds of people, from everyday citizens to powerful pharaohs. Carvings even show Queen Nefertari playing it. At first, it was just a popular game of strategy and luck. But over time, it turned into something much deeper and much darker. Some ancient Senet boards were found in tombs, decorated with symbols linked to the afterlife. Certain squares had markings that seemed to represent challenges or gates to the next world. That's when archaeologists began to realize this game wasn't just for fun. It was a spiritual journey, a way to practice or even influence the path a soul would take after death. Many now believe that the small playing pieces weren't just pawns. They were meant to represent souls moving through the afterlife. Winning wasn't about bragging rights. It was about reaching eternal peace. Number 10. Labyrinth of Hawara. The Greeks called it a labyrinth, and they meant it. Herodotus, the famous Greek historian, said it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen in Egypt, even more impressive than the pyramids. He spoke of endless halls, chambers, and tombs hidden beneath a pyramid at a place called Hawara. For centuries, many thought it was just a myth. But in 2008, archaeologists uncovered parts of a mysterious underground structure beneath the pyramid of Pharaoh Amenemhat III, one of the most powerful rulers of ancient Egypt's 12th dynasty. What they found matched Herodotus's words, a complex full of hidden rooms, long passageways, and ceremonial spaces. The layout had two main sections, one for the pharaoh, the other for his queens, connected by maze-like halls. Pieces of granite coffins, carvings, and hieroglyphs were still found buried in the sand. But most of the site remains unexplored. Some believe the deeper parts are untouched and may hold something more than tombs, maybe ancient secrets, or even dangers. Old writings speak of trials, judgment chambers, and connections to the god Osiris, ruler of the underworld. Number 9. Mummified crocodiles. At places like Kammoons, archaeologists have uncovered something both amazing and terrifying: mummified crocodiles. Big ones, small ones, even baby crocs, all carefully wrapped and perfectly preserved, some with their sharp teeth still showing. Their open jaws, frozen in time, still send chills down your spine. These weren't just random animals. In ancient Egypt, crocodiles were sacred. They were linked to Sobek, the powerful god of the Nile, water, and strength. People believed Sobek could protect them from danger and bring fertility to their land. So they didn't just worship him, they also mummified real crocodiles as offerings. Some of these crocs were buried with incredible care. Their bodies were wrapped in linen, often decorated, and sometimes even placed in stone coffins. At the Crocodile Museum near Kammoons, you can see rows of these ancient reptiles, looking almost alive. In a way, they were more than animals. They were guardians, messengers to the gods, and symbols of the Nile's raw power. Number 8. Gold tongues of the dead. In the ancient city of Oxyrhynchus, something strange and glittery has been turning up in tombs: tiny gold tongues. These thin pieces of gold foil were carefully placed in the mouths of the dead. By December 2004, archaeologists had found 29 golden tongues buried at the site, and the number may still grow. But why would anyone be buried with a tongue made of gold? The answer lies in what the ancient Egyptians believed about the afterlife. They thought that once someone died, their soul would face judgment from the gods, especially Osiris, the ruler of the underworld. To pass into the next world, a soul had to speak, defend itself, and prove its worth. And gold, known as the flesh of the gods, was believed to have special power. So a gold tongue wasn't just decoration, it was a magical tool meant to help the dead speak clearly and earn eternal life. What's even more surprising is that these gold tongues weren't only for pharaohs or nobles. Some were found in the tombs of ordinary people, men, women, even children. Carefully placed during the mummification process, many of these golden tongues still shine brightly after 2,000 years. Silent, yet meant to speak forever. Number 7. The Black Sarcophagus. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you find, it's what you don't understand. In 2018, construction workers in Alexandria stumbled upon something strange: a massive black sarcophagus buried deep underground. It was made from solid granite and weighed around 30 tons. What really shook people was how completely black and undecorated it was. In ancient Egypt, sarcophagi were usually covered in carvings, symbols, and colors. This one was just dark and silent. People immediately feared it was cursed. Some begged authorities not to open it. Memes and jokes spread online, warning that cracking it open could release ancient plagues or angry spirits. But eventually, curiosity won. Archaeologists carefully opened the lid, and what they found was even stranger than expected. Inside were 3 skeletons, not just one. The remains were floating in a disgusting red-brown liquid that smelled horrible. Scientists later confirmed it was sewage that somehow leaked in over centuries. The bones showed signs of injuries, maybe from battle, leading some to guess the people were soldiers. But no one knows for sure who they were or why 3 of them were buried together. Why was such a strange coffin made? Why no names, no markings, no clues? And how did sewage get inside if it was sealed tight? To this day, no one has answers. Number 6. Professional mourners. In ancient Egypt, death wasn't just the end of life. It was the beginning of a long journey to the afterlife. If a family had money, they didn't hold back. The dead were carefully mummified by skilled embalmers, wrapped in fine linens, and often buried with amulets, jewelry, and sometimes even food. Wealthy individuals might get a grand sarcophagus in their own tomb. Some even had mortuary temples, special places where priests would regularly leave offerings and say prayers to keep the soul happy and fed in the next world. But the funeral itself? That was a whole performance. One of the most unusual traditions was the use of professional mourners. These were women paid to cry, scream, and throw themselves into fits of grief. They didn't just shed a few tears, they went full drama mode. Paintings from tomb walls show them with wild hair, tear-streaked faces, and arms raised in sorrow. Some even smeared dirt on their faces or tore their clothes to show their pain. Number 5. Hidden corridor inside the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza has stood tall for over 4,500 years, guarding its secrets in silence. For centuries, explorers have climbed through its narrow shafts, mapped its giant stones, and scanned its hidden paths. But in 2023, something surprising was discovered: a secret corridor hidden behind the pyramid's north face. This passage is almost 30 feet long and has never been seen before. And here's the cool part: it wasn't found by digging. Scientists used cosmic ray muon radiography, a high-tech method that sends tiny particles through stone, kind of like an X-ray for pyramids. The same technique is used to scan volcanoes. What they found was a perfectly shaped empty space just behind the entrance. No one knows for sure why it's there. Some believe it was built to reduce weight and protect another chamber. Others think it might lead to a hidden tomb, a lost treasure room, or even an ancient doorway that was sealed and forgotten. This is the first time in over 200 years that such a discovery has been made inside the Great Pyramid. Number 4. Shabti figurines. In many ancient Egyptian tombs, archaeologists found something unusual: dozens of tiny statues called Shabtis. These small human-shaped figurines weren't just decorations. They had a job to do. Egyptians believed that in the afterlife, the dead would have to work, farming, digging, and carrying loads. So, to avoid doing all that labor themselves, they buried these little statues with them. The idea was simple. When the gods called your name for work, a Shabti would magically come to life and say, "I'll do it." Some tombs had just a few Shabtis, but others had armies. King Tuten, for example, had 400 of them buried with him. Many held tiny tools like picks and baskets. Some even had names and spells written on them to activate their service in the next world. But here's the strange part. Their blank faces, stiff poses, and sheer number can feel eerie. Rows of quiet, ghostly figures stood by waiting to move. It's like a silent workforce frozen in time. Number 3. Galign Man. Long before the Great Pyramids were built, a man was murdered in ancient Egypt, and his body was found over 5,000 years later. Known today as the Galign Man, or nicknamed Ginger because of his reddish hair, he was discovered in 1896, buried in a shallow grave near Galign, a desert region south of Luxor. What makes him so unique? He wasn't mummified the usual way, with chemicals or wrappings. The dry desert sand naturally preserved his body. His skin, muscles, and even hair survived the test of time, giving us a hauntingly clear look at someone who lived and died over 5,300 years ago. For years, it seemed like he had simply passed away peacefully. But in 2012, a CT scan revealed the truth. He was stabbed in the back, just under the left shoulder blade. The wound was deep and likely fatal. There were no signs of healing, meaning the attack killed him instantly. No weapon was found and no one knows who did it or why. Was it a robbery, revenge, or something more? We may never know, but Ginger's peaceful pose hides a violent end. Number 2. Tutankhamun's Iron Daggers. When Howard Carter opened King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, he found treasures beyond imagination. But two small items stood out: iron daggers, one of them made from a meteorite. In a time when iron was almost unknown in Egypt, this blade was something special. The ancient Egyptians called iron metal from the sky and believed it had heavenly power. This dagger, made from a space rock, wasn't just a weapon, it was a gift from the stars. The blade is still sharp today, and faint traces of a dark residue have been found on its surface. Some think it may have been used in rituals, maybe to protect the young king from evil spirits. The dagger's sheath carries a warning: cutting the enemies of Ra, suggesting it played a role in magical ceremonies. Early archaeologists who handled the dagger reported feeling uneasy, and rumors of strange accidents began to swirl around the team. What makes these daggers even more mysterious is their perfect condition after thousands of years. Number 1. Whale bones. Imagine you're riding through the hot, dry dunes of the Egyptian Sahara. Sand stretches for miles, heat waves dance in the air, and then you see something strange. Giant bones. Massive whale bones lying in the desert sun. That's Wadi al-Hitan, the Valley of the Whales. These aren't just old bones. They're fossils from over 37 million years ago, from a time when this dry land was actually covered by a warm ocean. But what really grabs your attention? These whales had legs. Tiny, leftover limbs from their land-dwelling ancestors. It's like evolution froze a moment in time right here. The fossils belong to early whale species like Basilosaurus and Dorudon. Whales that once walked on land before they became the sea giants we know today. Their skeletons show this transformation clearly, with every bone telling a part of the story. It's one of evolution's wildest changes, creatures going from land to sea. We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more amazing stories.